Welcome to How They Won. I'm your host, Bob Burns, and every week I get successful real estate professionals across North America to share their secrets of success with you. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. I'm speaking with Heather and Steve Ostrom with Coldwell Banker Realty in Roseville and Rockland, California. Heather and Steve run one of the most efficient and effective husband and wife teams I've come across in the real estate business. Each of them has a well-defined job that they do for the team, and each of them are best in class at what they do. During our conversation, Heather and Steve discuss the evolution of their team, how they manage their systems and processes, their marketing and lead conversion strategy, along with many other intricate pieces of how their team operates. Before we start the show, I'd like to ask you for a favor. If you're finding value in this podcast, please subscribe, review, and share it with your network. Our goal is to raise the bar for the real estate industry as a whole, and it's going to take all of us working together to achieve that. I want you to know how much I sincerely appreciate your support for what we're doing with How They Won. It's awesome. That being said, let's get on with the show. This week's episode is brought to you by Leaders Edge Coaching. Full disclosure, I am a trainer and a coach with Leaders Edge. But like you, I can choose to do business with anyone. But I choose to work with Leaders Edge. Leaders Edge has the right experience, knowledge, and tools to help you take your business to the next level. Whether that means closing more transactions, or improving your work-life balance, or building a team the right way, the coaches and staff at Leaders Edge can help you achieve your goals. For more information, email coaching@howtheywon.com. That's coaching@howtheywon.com. One of the most common issues I deal with in my training and coaching business is around teams. People always ask me one of two questions. One, should I form a team? Or two, how do I make my team work better? And my answer is always this. I say back to the agent, in your team scenario, is the sum of the parts of the team greater than the whole? In other words, why would forming a team be better than just moving forward as two individual practitioners? In the case of my guest today, I can tell you with absolute certainty that the sum of the parts of the team is far greater than the whole, even though each of them individually are incredible real estate professionals. Each team member brings something to the table that the other team member doesn't have. So Heather and Steve Ostrom are a high-performing husband and wife team with Coldwell Banker Realty in Roseville and Rockland, California. Their website is rosevillandrockland.com, and you can find them on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and all the other social media channels. I'll put up links to them in the episode notes on howtheywon.com. So without further ado, Heather and Steve, thanks so much for coming on the show. I'm super excited about this conversation.
Oh, so are we. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you, Bob.
It's my pleasure. You're welcome. Let's start with a lighter question before we get into the serious side of the business. Steve, I hear you have a Joe Theismann story.
Oh, it's not that big of a story, but I used to deal craps. That's how I met Heather. We worked at Lake Tahoe, but Joe was on the game, and a fan came up and said, "Hey, can I have your autograph?" And he rolled a 7, and I don't know if you know about craps, but it's really bad. But he went off on the guy like you wouldn't believe. And I was on the other side of the table, and I said to the next guy next to me, said, "Walk it off, Joe, walk it off." And he just started rolling. And Joe didn't hear what I said, but there was that commercial at that time. This is around 98, 99 when that commercial was out of ESPN, where they said, "Walk it off, Joe, walk it off." Anyways, it was a perfect timing on a perfect joke. I didn't know you knew that story, and I don't like to say it, but, that's it.
Did I tell you about that story, Bob? I don't even remember that one.
No, you didn't. I found it in my own research. So
how did you find that in your research?
My crack research team here at How They Won uncovers every stone.
Sean Carpenter, did you tell him? That is my
technically Joe Theismann lost on that one.
I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah,
that's cool, and I bet you have tons of other really fun casino stories. Maybe we can talk about them over an alcoholic beverage at some point.
It was a good time.
Two of the more spicy blackjack and craps dealers up in Tahoe, so no shame. But we kept it exciting. It was fun.
Very cool. And Heather, were you working at the casino that time that Mick Jagger yelled at you?
No, that was in college. Oh man, you got all the good scoops. Oh my gosh. No, that one was great. That was when I was still at Chico, and it was a side job that I got to work backstage for Bill Graham for concerts. And I was so excited to be around the Rolling Stones. And I wasn't fully aware that Mick was going through a separation at the time. And I opened up the side door next to where they were eating. I was dumping out excess water out of the sodas. And he yelled, he goes, "Close the bloody door." And then I was like, I could just feel like little tears like starting to let my husband go, "I'm so sorry." But I was like, God, I just got yelled at by Mick Jagger. So it was awesome. And I also got I just lost his name, his guitar pick. Who's the guy that they always say that never, somehow he keeps on living?
Keith Richards.
Yeah, I got Keith Richards' guitar pick.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I feel like that was a small win for my tears, but I definitely have a good story. So that's awesome.
Oh man, I take that story, and Mick Jagger can yell at me anytime he wants. That would be.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, kids. There was that one time I got yelled at by a Rolling Stone.
That's amazing. So let's pivot over to the real estate side, and I want to get in the Wayback Machine and take us back to the time when you were deciding to team up. From what I understand, Steve, you were already a successful individual practitioner in real estate, very involved in the business, had been doing it for some time. And Heather, you were running a graphic design business. So my first question is as a husband and wife in my family, I think my wife and I are smart enough and know each other well enough to never attempt to work together in an official capacity. So my question for you two is, who was the brave one, the first one to bring up the topic of, hey, we might be better if we work together?
Yeah, I don't remember, Steve, because it was around 2006 we formally kind of started working together when Marley was born. That's the second one.
It was like we were tag team parents. And so we'd have to tag team for Heather to do her work. And to be honest, graphic design doesn't make as much money as real estate. And so it wasn't really me taking me away from my work. It's like, it was better for us to work together to make me better and to put us on the same page. Because now that we're on the same page, it just makes it a lot easier with the kids. With Heather's graphic design, political season was her busy time. And it would just interfere with our work. And it just made more sense for us to work together.
You know, and I was already starting to help him with marketing. And it was kind of organically happening anyways. I started helping her. And at that point in time, there wasn't a lot of blogging, there really anything. And there was nobody doing videos. It was almost like kind of just like, it was almost just happened as things were happening, like when Trulia Voices was happening. And so it was like, gosh, I feel like we could capitalize on this lack of people doing any sort of online garden keeping, so to speak, as far as videos, blogging. And also too, with the parenting thing, it was all the more important for us to define our roles when we did decide to start working together, just so Steve sticks with the marketing, or Steve sticks with the pricing, the strategy and pricing, and I would do all the marketing. And we definitely had to like kind of work through the bumps to find out, like we had to stay in our lanes just to make sure our marriage stayed together. But really, it was almost like it was so natural for us to start working together.
And the one thing that really helps me, Heather handles the emails. And I find that people are a lot harder on emails than they are in person. And so having her behind me to do the emails was a big plus for me. And then also negotiation is my thing. And then Heather communication is huge for how well she does. And she's so good at it. She's a lot more detail oriented than I am. I'm a yes man and she's a practitioner. What's the word I'm looking for, Heather? I don't know it, but you know what I mean. I'm like, oh yeah,
I already told
yeah. Okay.
I know, but Steve is so happy and friendly. The agents love working with him, and from all of his work on the local associations, whether it's at Sacramento or Placer County, everyone knows Steve on the ground and everyone knows me online. So it's been kind of a nice little pairing of personalities and also our strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And we're going to dig more into the whole digital evolution piece in a minute. You mentioned Trulia Voices. That's a blast from the past. I haven't thought about Trulia Voices in a long time.
That's kind of where I was like, first I better get my license because I'm running my mouth too much. Second of all, I was like, you know what? I just started realizing, it was like, I just had an epiphany. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's not many people online doing this stuff. We could really capture the eyes of people where they are doing online searches. There's not a lot there. And our area was just ripe for the picking as far as like someone capitalizing on that lack of real estate presence online.
Mm-hmm.
It was totally unskied snow. And like I said, we're going to get into that in a minute, but I want to go back to what you said about staying in your lane. That really resonates with me. And it relates back to my introduction of the two of you. So many agents think they want to form teams. And I would say in my 20 years of various management capacities and coaching agents and helping agents out with the team thing, like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, someone should do a study of teams fail. And I believe a lot of that has to do with stepping on toes and not understanding what my lane is and what her lane is and what his lane is. So did that evolve naturally because you knew each other so well, or did it take some bumping into each other to define the boundaries?
There was a lot of bumping into each other, but we also at one point in time had a big team. When short sales were big, Heather said we need to pull on a short sale agent. So we had a short sale agent, and then we had a buyer's agent because I was doing REOs at that time, and I hated it. And so we learned from mistakes, and so
any asset managers paying attention when this time comes around, we're all good with it.
Yeah. So, but to me, it wasn't having a big team wasn't for us. Now we just refer things out, and Heather's good at keeping track of what we refer out as far as buyers. And then we list. I mean, listing is most of our business.
So why the downsize? Why did you offload the other pieces of the team and kind of double down on your strengths?
Well, I'll tell you a few things. As they get good, and they were good. I mean, they were all good agents, and we were a great high producing team, but they start making more money, and they don't understand that all I have to do is keep one of those transactions compared to the 6 I give them. But more importantly, I was dealing with their mistakes, where I make plenty of mistakes on my own. I don't need to deal with their other mistakes. I'm not a management person.
Counseling.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it wasn't always just like mistakes. It was like counseling, or you don't realize how much of your brain can you truly segment with how busy we were already busy. And I think the thing that really caught us off guard is we thought our life would get more simple. And that was just our ignorance. And because there really wasn't a lot of teams. And plus, I have to tell you, at that point in time when we did form the team, we didn't have anyone to talk to that was willing to share the ups and downs and the challenges we might come across. So we were really just kind of like having to live through the bumps. And that was definitely something we learned through the process that, we didn't realize, oh my gosh, we're going to be basically, and I hate to say this, but it's like, you're like almost a little mini manager. So we're being an admin, a manager. We were also being the person delegating all the business. And we truly believed in personality matching, which was the reason why we built the team, is because Jen was awesome at short sales. Nicole was really good about organization, staying on task. Desiree was really good at being a buyer's agent. So we were trying our best to actually do what's best for the client. And also, but with more business came more complication. And Jen went on her own. We switched back to NRT, and the two girls stayed back at the Coldwell Banker affiliate office. And it was actually a really nice separation. But we found out when we were back on our own, we actually had a higher production, less chaos. And it was definitely a great learning experience. And I wouldn't trade it for the world, but I'm really happy. It's just Steve and I and a transaction coordinator. And Steve is actually the only one on production. So we're technically not a team. We're still considered, he's an individual agent, but I'm definitely an accessory piece that's a part of the solution. So
that is awesome. And even 10 years ago or 15 years ago or whenever it was that the two of you teamed up and there was no information about what it was really like to run a team, I don't think the world has changed that much. Today, all we see is in the industry, we see these huge production numbers and we see a lot of praise and all of the positives of being part of a team or at least leading a team. But people are kind of reluctant to talk about the downside and the unexpected pieces of what they took on in starting a team.
And you know what, too, the client feedback. They aren't talking about that because I've yet to meet a client that likes being handed off. Mm-hmm. And, because they see us online, they're expecting to get Heather or Steve from all the videos, because a lot of our clients that we tend to attract, they're expecting one of us to be the hands-on person. And so that transition is very delicate, and you really have to have a good sense of I call it word Vaseline, you have to learn how to accentuate the positives of why this is going to be a better solution. And so if you don't have a grasp of that, and also you're being a matchmaker, almost like a dating app. Like, is this personality going to mesh or conflict with this personality? So there's a lot of layers that we had to learn by just experiencing it.
Totally makes sense. In fact, I was just coaching a team Friday, a few days ago, about this very, very issue. Each of them kind of has their own client base, and they've struggled with being able to kind of cross-pollinate their strengths as team members. And one of the things that I was trying to coach them through was relates to the next question I have for you. As a team, one of the hardest parts I find is delivering a consistent experience for your clients and customers. What does it mean to be an Ostrom listing? What does it mean to be an Ostrom buyer? What does it mean? Like what is it that's special about working with this team? So my question to the two of you is, what kind of systems or processes, or maybe just even simple checklists, have you put in place in the background to make it mean something when someone is working with your team?
Do you want to go, Heather, or do you want me to go? Because I have my opinion. Our strength is marketing, and we sort of have a system down. We've listed so many properties that we sort of have it down to a science of when we list, how we do tour on Wednesday, how we go on Thursday, so it's not too early from the weekend, but it hits the weekend just right, and it's marketing. I mean, we pay a photographer to make sure it looks good, but we sort of have our listings just down to a science. And we usually get it done. I mean, we really have good luck with that. And we try to be upfront and honest. If I think there's going to be a problem with it, I try to be as honest as possible. I think that's works the best. And then with buyers, we refer most buyers out unless they're listing also, because I like to work with a contingent seller. Contingent seller is sort of my favorite buyer, because I'm working with the same people on 2 transactions. But if it's just a buyer coming in from out of the area, we refer it out somebody to other people.
Yeah, and you know what, too? It's almost like, and you know what, Bob, kind of tying in what you were talking about. It's like, we at one point, because Steve, what are you in your 18th year or going into your 18th year? Really learning how to, I think the sooner a young agent can figure out putting your ego aside and truly embracing what you're great at and what you're not so great at. And it's not admitting to admit what your weaknesses are and where you need help is actually a strength, in my opinion. And the sooner you figure that out, the better your business is going to do. Because Steve, he's aware that like email and attention to detail is my strength, and his is talking to people and talking on a solution. He's so friendly and helpful, and he's a great negotiator. That we've kind of figured that out with that. We also, with sellers, education and prepping them for the processes involved has really been a game changer. As far as we do a seller superhero kit. We give it to the seller at our listing presentation so they know exactly what to expect with the process, how photo day is going to go. I can come over for help. We have options for stagers. It's all written out. My type A personalities love it. Sometimes my artists kind of melt down. So like, and I say, hey, don't even read this. If this is your panic piece for 2 a.m. when you wake up in the middle of the night worrying about how photo day is going to go, but no, you can always call me. So that way you're hitting different personality types for a tactile experience, audio, or whatever they need to kind of bring the stress level down, because our goal is a frictionless environment to the best of our ability.
I love that, a frictionless environment, and understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are. What a lot of people, I think, lack the self-awareness to understand what their weaknesses are. So Steve, did you go through a process to understand like the stuff that's just not your thing?
Oh, I know what things are my weakness, but my strengths are talking to people. Building rapport. That's me. I am not a detail person. I do not like paperwork. I know it. I was on the board of directors of California Association of Realtors, so I know the contract. I know it all. I just don't like it. That's why we have an escrow coordinator. And there was a time there where Heather was trying to watch my paperwork, and it just didn't work because it just didn't work. That's
actually a great thing where we screwed up on. We're like, it was destroying us, the paperwork. And so that's why we brought in a transaction coordinator to take it off me being the bad guy.
Yeah. I'm really good at dealing with other agents. You know what I mean? Having good rapport with them and dealing with my clients well, but I'm not good at the I's and the T's. I don't like getting on the computer. I'm really, really good with our MLS, which is Prospector. I'm really, really good at that. I know it like back of my hand. I'm really, really good with the zip forms, but anything else, I try not to get involved in. I'm rarely on Facebook. You're
smiling when you answer the phone.
What? Yeah, I try. I know that biggest part of my job, I think, is answering my phone. And so I always take pride in answering my phone.
Oh man, I might even make Answer Your Phone the title of this episode.
No, I'm serious. How many times do we hear that, Bob, where people are like, I don't even call me, text me. And it's like, well, then you've eliminated a lot of your audience.
Yeah.
If they see that, they're going to be scared to even have you work for them. Our goal is like, okay, you tell us how you want to communicate and we'll do what you tell us, because it's good to have boundaries for us, for our mental health, but it's like, at one point, are you going to be steering away clients because they saw you said, hey, don't you dare call me? Steve always answers his phone because it's appraisers, it's inspectors, it's a client panicking at the last minute. If you're not doing that, you created more stress than you need to do.
You create twice as much work. Now you got to listen to a voicemail, make an outbound call. If we're just talking from an efficiency standpoint, it just makes sense to pick up the phone. In fact, what you've just mentioned, now I'm triggered. Here I go. I was in a classroom not too long ago, maybe a month and a half ago. And I was trying to make the point that the golden rule of treat people how you want to be treated, like we learned from our parents and grandparents, is actually out of date. We need the platinum rule of to treat people how they want to be treated. And this is like how to not be a trainer. I got into a big argument with some lady that's like, no, I want to treat them how I want to be treated. And we were debating but I still, she didn't sway me. My belief that is we as service providers, our number one job is to figure out what the client wants, and secondly, how to give that to them. And it feels like that you've figured that out.
Goodness, what better experience do we have in sales or service when someone goes, hey, how can I make your day better? Whether through action or verbal. I just there's no greater gift, and instantly the person softens, and you're going to have a better experience through the whole process, knowing that someone cares on the other side. It's almost like bedside manners for real estate.
Right on. Preach. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit. And it goes back to what we were talking about before with Trulia Voices and some of the other things. And I want to really get down to the root of it, because I think that the two of you have done a fantastic job of converting online impressions and clicks into actual closed transactions. And I believe that's where the gap is there's people that are good at developing clicks and impressions and playthroughs and all of that online, but to transfer that digital relationship to in real life and ultimately into a closed real estate transaction is where a lot of people, I think, fall down. So tell us a little bit, how do you bridge that gap? How do you bring a relationship from the digital space into real life and convert that opportunity into a client?
Well, I'll go first. It's speed. We have it set up that I get texted when there's a new lead and I call right away. And then Heather is usually online. So I'm with clients and Heather's usually behind the scenes on the computer. So I think it's speed. I hate to say it, but it's whoever can get there quickest, unfortunately, with most people. And then a lot of times, like with my referring out buyers, I say, hey, listen, I'll be honest with you. You want somebody who's better at this area than me. I got this perfect person for you in the office. Right now we have a lot of listings, don't have a lot of time for buyers, but this girl, has time for you. We'll take care of you. She specializes in Bay Area relocation.
And she really is amazing.
Yeah. So but it was hard for me to pass off some things, because if you think about it, that's a future seller, and so to me, but you got to take care of the ones you have. And if you're working with too many buyers, you can't handle the amount of listings that we get. So,
yeah. And definitely just being aware of our boundaries, because too, it's like we have 3 young kids and it's like, I'd rather do a great job, quality, not quantity. And so, and that's really kind of reflective of our business, and our price point has definitely gone up over the years because we've grown with clients, but also attracted a higher price point clientele as well. So, and it's not even just about that with clients, like their price point. It's just, I also personality matches. You can sense right away. I'm like, what? I can tell I'm going to frustrate you. I want everyone to end up happy with this experience. So we are blessed that right now, instead of having the team atmosphere, we are just referring out to an agent. And I have to tell you, if someone is considering that, it takes the drama and the ego out of the process, because I found that people, when you do a referral, they're so grateful for that business. When you're in a team atmosphere, it's really definitely something hard to manage with egos, because at one point they don't realize that you're just handing them the business. And we're doing all the back end work as far as having our online gardens, whether it's Yelp, Google reviews, our website, which has a lot of blog posts, or even YouTube videos that they found. Like our one of our biggest posts is our Melrose post, and they don't realize all that effort and time that's gone to the back end. And by us referring it out, it's kind of eliminated all the drama. And it's been a great solution for us.
And just so you know, Melrose is something that's just in California. That
I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, sorry about that.
It's okay.
I was just going to gloss over that whole thing, but now I've got to know what is it? Belarus?
Yeah, it's an extra tax that just California has because of Prop 13. I don't know if you know what Prop 13 is in California.
Is that the thing where California says everything gives you cancer?
No.
That's something else?
No, totally different.
Okay. Anyway, we got sidetracked there a little bit.
I know. Well, you're talking to us, so we
always sidetrack.
I was going to compliment you on your online content because what I think is part of the secret sauce is you've figured out a way to convey each of your personalities through the stuff that you're putting out online. It's not some generic, I call it a real estate Mad Lib where it's all the same paragraph, but you insert 3 new words in it and suddenly you've marketed. Walk us through that. How have you managed to do such a good job of conveying who you are online?
I think it's scary. You know what? And we got teased. And I have to tell you, when we first started, and that, like I was mentioning, was like probably around that, I might be a little bit wrong on the timing, but I think it was around 2006, 2009, that time frame. It was like, we definitely got teased for doing all the video work. Like we were just messing around. And my goal was I wanted to have a little bit everywhere. I wanted to have print media handled, but I also wanted to make sure that our business garden was kind of diverse, so that no matter where you found us, you're going to get a little piece of our personality. But to reveal, like we're doing here, it's like we're revealing our positives and our weaknesses. And that's a scary thing for people to do. And some people want to have this polished Patty type persona online. And I honestly, how I gravitate toward people, I'd rather you hurt me with honesty so I can get better. And that's my mindset. So we do tend to attract people like that, where it's mechanical engineers, nurses. They love knowing plan A and plan B. And that's how we kind of approach our business. So I think that's appealing to people. It's scary because you are admitting in writing or in video, like, hey, this is not what we're great at, but this is what we're amazing at. So we're hoping that just appeals to a certain party.
People will feel like they're giving up something by doing that, but you're actually gaining a bigger share of a smaller pie, perhaps.
But we're inevitably attracting exactly who we want to work with because they're like-minded. And it's a scary thing to do, but it's actually powerful. And that's just one thing that's been, you're starting to see more people picking up on that. Like, let's work with the puzzle pieces we have instead of trying to pretend what we are.
I love it. And then it just makes it more fun to wake up and go to work every day. So many agents I talk to are like, oh, these clients, and I don't like these ones, and these ones are a hassle. And that's always going to be the case, of course. Yeah. But I think the better job we are at portraying and projecting our authentic selves through our marketing, the happier we'll be waking up every morning because we get to work with clients that are attracted to us, not some fake version of us that we've put out there.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff. I want to pivot again because you, Heather and Steve, I think have done a fabulous job of leveraging your company and your brand and your business. And right now in the real estate industry, I see a lot of agents and teams especially, running in the opposite direction. They're trying as hard as they can and spending as much time, money, and effort to minimize their company and brand and maximize themselves. So you're running in the opposite direction. You're running towards your company and towards your brand. Why?
You know what? SEO. I watch, I know everyone thinks I'm silly and goofy, and comedy's kind of my forefront as far as online stuff, as far as the personal stuff. But it's like I am watching the SEO traffic. I'm seeing that a lot of times it is Coldwell Banker plus another term. And so it's not necessarily the end all game. And I do see people sanitizing their brand out of their thing. First of all, in California, that's a big no-no. And I see all you people out there doing it. But it's like, why not leverage? Like, what's the whole point of me paying any sort of fees? I want to leverage the power of my brand. And that has mattered to me. And honestly, too, on a personal level, Steve and I love going into our office. We love the people that work in our office. And we are so blessed with one of the best managers, Jeff Culbertson. I love you, Jeff. And like that type of stuff matters to me just as much as any online services, because I can handle the marketing. I don't need it. I have a lot of complementary pieces with listing concierge and all that stuff, but we really could survive on our own. So the brand being reputable, there's so many layers as to why I like Coldwell Banker and I leverage the brand. I like the legal department. I like that I have a strong manager to counsel me. I want to have someone that makes me a better agent if I need help, because we don't ask for help very often. But when I do, I know that our brand does support us and gives us the answers we can provide to our clients.
Steve, anything to add to that?
I started Coldwell Banker. It was a huge brand where I was growing up. And so to me, it was like the Nordstroms are the best thing of real estate. And they've been good to me. I've had no complaints and I've done well. You go to the other places that pitch, well, hey, with your production, you'd be making this much more, but who knows that I would have that production. So to me, that was a big part. I hate to say this too, but with the technology, there wasn't very, very few people with Coldwell Banker that were as embracing of technology as Heather and I are. And so I felt like we just had to outrun the other people in Coldwell Banker. And so once we're doing why change? We have technically, we were Coldwell Banker NRT to start. And then we went 3 years Coldwell Banker affiliate because they couldn't really deal with the teams that we wanted to set up. They weren't ready for it. They were against it. And so we went to an affiliate who gave us every opportunity to do what we wanted to do with it. But over there, they didn't have the tools as far as the Zillows, the Realtor.coms. The back end was a lot harder because it wasn't one smooth place. And then they offered me an incredible deal 3 years later to come back to NRT. And when they did this new voodoo math or whatever, it was like, well, why wouldn't I go back to being a single agent? Because my pay went way up from what it was when I left NRT.
What, dude? The support staff at our office is invaluable. Like we learned a hard lesson, like, oh my gosh, we have to do everything on our own. And that's another good thing for like an ego crack. It's like, as far as building a team, it's like, how does the office support your team? To us, and I know a lot of offices around the country do not believe in touring. Locally, that's been like almost like a reason why we get listings, is because the sellers love that we do a tour right before all the big stuff happens, just to get fine tuning and a mind hive feedback on how the property presents, pricing. And so that's been an integral part of it. In our office tours, we have a great staff. We have a strong broker manager. It fills in all the gaps of where we're weak at. So we're focusing, Steve's focusing on selling and not all the nuances of, oh my gosh, did we get the sign down? Did the sign go up? There's a lot of little details that you don't think about. But when you start getting busy, every little detail is going to matter.
It makes sense from a peace of mind perspective, and just usually from an arithmetic perspective. Of course, everybody's got to do their due diligence. I want to keep digging in here, though, because you have leveraged locally very, very well, and your local support staff and your local leadership and management and legal and so forth. But also, Team Ostrom, you've done a fantastic job on the national level of getting on stage and engaging with the brand's network on a national level. Now you're high producing, but you're certainly not like the number one Coldwell Banker agent or team in the network. Yet you've gotten, I think, an unfair share of attention from the brand because I think you're working it and you're working it very well. So talk a little bit more about that, like rising to the ranks of kind of a worldwide stage in your agent network.
I know. I feel like I'm so overexposed when they say it. I'm like, why? Because when I went on stage with Ryan Gorman and that lovely lady from Zillow, I just lost her name. I go, why am I here? I mean, we're great, but we're definitely not. There's agents in our area that are just the most amazing agents that I idolize. I thought, why am I here? Like, I almost had to know for like my brain, like, am I here to do a soft shoe routine and like do a little dance and be the comedic fodder? But like, I know, but it's like, I wonder sometimes, but I also think it's just, there's only so many agents that are revealing their whole personality and being very transparent in the true sense that I'm showing you the great and the ugly. So, and I'm not afraid to make fun of myself too. I think that's an attractive thing. I think, and also the ability to say sorry. That's one thing in our industry that I think is really, I'm blessed that I've met a lot of agents, but I wish more agents knew the power of sorry. Like when you screw up, own it and move forward and work as a team as a solution. It doesn't mean you're going to compromise your fiduciary duty to your client. It's actually going to make the transaction go smoother.
That's amazing. And back to the kind of the national stage.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Focus, Oscar.
That's okay. You have, I think by design, worked it I want to know, like, I don't see enough agents making an effort to get engaged and to give something back. And the two of you have certainly given as much or more, I believe, than you've gotten out of your brand. So that's kind of what I see as.
I think, that's a great point. I didn't even think of it that way, because I really do think we get stuff for free, and I don't think they realize we've gotten exposure, but we like helping other people. I love seeing people be their best self. And plus, I feel like if you have great people working around you, you're going to be better, because it raises the bar of expectation within the office. And then we can all help each other, because this is a lone wolf business. And that's the part that's kind of sad. And that's one of Steve's biggest strengths too, is his positive self-talk. When I'm getting sad, he is the happiest and best person to be around when it's stressful. But I think that's part of the charm of Steve, particularly. Like, he's just so positive. And you know what? When you think that there's no solution, Steve is so great. He's incredible at chess. He's great at, remember Stratego? Like, that's like Steve. Like, I don't even like playing board games with Steve, because he's so 3-4 steps ahead of you, and it drives me nuts because I want to win. But like, that's what's the perfect compliment that we both, like, when I'm going into artist brain and I'm getting sad, Steve has a strategy for us to get forward and a solution.
So does that happen on purpose, Steve, or is it just innate that you wake up positive and happy every day just automatically?
I try, you know what I mean? It's better to be positive, I think, than Nate. I'm pretty positive. I came from a pretty positive family. But, to me, I'm doing way better than I ever thought I would do. I'm completely happy doing what I do. To me, I couldn't have landed in a better place. So I am way exceeding my expectations. That the complaints that I have about the job, the benefits far outweigh the complaints. Do you know what I mean? I didn't think I would do this well in any occupation. I'm completely happy where I live. I'm completely happy with my family. I know I work too much. I know I answer my phone every time it rings, but the benefits far outweigh the negatives to me. So to me, I'm happy. Like, this is great for what we're doing. I'm completely happy doing this job. I don't know what else I could do. I'm pretty much in it now. I mean, it's been 18 years, but I've done other things where I know that this is a good job. And the truth is, I can be there for the kids when I want to be there for the kids. I can take the time off if I want to take the time off. I do work at certain times of the year. But like last year was not our best year, but when I look back on it, it was my daughter's senior year that I felt I had to be there for every single water polo game. I had to be there for all those things. So it was a down year. It was still way better than I ever expected, but we were not number 2 in the region like we had been in the past. I think that was harder for Heather than it was for me, because for me, it was more important to go to all the water polo games than to not do it.
I know, but that's good. You always keep me focused on what's important too.
Yeah. And then this year, I mean, we're crushing it this year. And it's because she doesn't have water polo anymore. She's done with it. She's already into college. And I know it's just a matter of how much you can work is how much you make. And it's unfortunate that is, but it's the truth. And so, yeah, we're in March, we're going to be making half of what we made last year already, 3 months into the year. But we were there for her all last year. I think that was very, very important to me and to Heather.
That's amazing. And I challenge anybody listening to this to point to a better career and a better industry that allows us to live a full, well-rounded life where we get to have a personal life, a family life, a professional life. We get to achieve our goals. We get to surprise ourselves by how much we've accomplished and be so grateful for what we've achieved in life. Now, we could keep going on and on with this. And I think this has already been one of our longer episodes, which is great. We need to do like an episode 2, but I want to wrap it up with one final question. If you could give one piece of advice for all of the real estate professionals listening to this right now, it could be very specific about the industry or about transactions, could be about business in general, or just being a person or working with your family. We've got all walks of the business listening. We've got individual sales agents. We've got team members, team leaders, office managers, executives, mortgage people. So it's a very general, broad audience all across North America. So let's start with you, Steve. What one bit of advice should everybody listen to?
Heather was genius at this, and it was going to our area, not to us. So many people brand themselves, whereas we branded Roseville and Rockland.com, and that was our branding. And I think that we spend more on marketing our listings than we spend on marketing us. And we're secondary to our listings is how I feel, and our area, obviously. But I really feel that we put our attention towards our clients and our listings and not towards, look at Steve Ostrom. We're not SteveOstrom.com. We're not Ostrom and Heather and Ostrom team. We're Roseville and Rockland.com. It's easier for people to remember. I think we get a lot of referrals that way. And it's really, really, what's the word I'm looking for? Just not egocentric. We were never egocentric. We were market-centric and client-centric.
I love it. What about you, Heather? One bit of advice for everybody listening.
Oh gosh, just one.
I got more if you need more. So, I mean, I can.
No, you know what? I have to tell you, for if you want to land more referral business, go to every single one of your profiles online and update it. Because I do think that with we do get a lot of out of area clients, and the agents are online interviewing us. And so I want to make sure your interview online, whether it's on LinkedIn or your coldbanker.com profile or whatever company you're with, make sure all those profiles are dialed in and using the language that's going to appeal to their client, because it's not about them either. They want to know that you're going to take care of their client and be an extension of their business.
That makes total sense. And like I said, we have so much more to talk about. I think we need a part 2 of this episode at some point in the future. So Heather and Steve Ostrom with Coldwell Banker Realty in Roseville and Rockland, California, right around Sacramento. Thanks so much for sharing everything that you shared. You're both awesome. That's why your name is Ostrom. Appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you, Bob. It was a great interview. I said awesome again. Like, see it too often. Thank you so much for having us on.
My pleasure.